Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's interview with my good friend and best-selling author, Stephen Gardner. Stephen is the author of 6 previous books on finance and safe money strategies, and now he's come out with a new book specifically for the medical community. Stephen, welcome to the call. Tell us, what's the title of this new book?
Hey, thanks, Mark. I'm happy to be on with you and your clients today. So the book is Taming Wall Street, Doctor's Edition, and it's specifically for the medical community. About 60% of my clientele are doctors of some kind, whether that's a chiropractor, a dentist, or a MD, or surgeon, or whatever it might be. And so the book is specifically written to help educate them on these powerful safe money strategies that most of them don't know anything about or have access to, or they've heard about it, but they've been given a traditional plan, which you and I both know benefits the agent more than the client. And I'm completely against those. I've never written one. And so I'm just trying to educate people that how you build it matters, and who your money mentor is really does matter.
Cool. So, well, first off, I just say I love that title, okay, because I've been doing safe money planning for over 20 years now as well. But Wall Street can be a blessing and it can be a curse. So to harness the power of Wall Street while protecting losses seems really contradictory. I mean, is that even possible?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely possible. I mean, I'm not a Wall Street hater, but if you do some serious study of the market, you find that on average it drops 2 to 3 times every 10 years, and it's up 7 to 8 times every 10 years. The big problem is when it goes negative, it's typically a big drop. And that can end up wiping out years of savings or growth, and then taking several years to get back to break even. So for example, after the Great Recession, where from 2007 to part of 2009, the market dropped by about 52%, it took 5.5 years to get back to break even. So, I mean, that's a total of nearly 8 years wasted just getting back to break even. And yet, as it started to go back up again, Wall Street's bragging, we're having the best markets ever, but most people weren't even back to break even. And so if you can harness the power of Wall Street, but work with some of the top money managers so that you're getting market-like returns, but also have it on paper with some of these A-rated companies that I work with that have been in business for some of them over 100 years, that will contractually guarantee that they will protect your principal. That's a great way to go. So like, for example, last year was a great year. Anybody that was involved in one of the programs, they earned just under 11%, which for a product that's contractually protected against loss, that's an incredible gain. But even for Wall Street, that's a good gain, right? Oh, yeah. So, I personally have money in some programs that are that do this indexing and are linked, and I had it split up, and one of the funds did 12%, the other one did 16%. Now I'm kicking myself that I didn't have it all in the 16, right. But the stock market, if anything, is difficult to predict. And so if you can take advantage of the good years, but be totally protected from any backsliding, losses, reverses, crashes, I mean, that is going to help people get further ahead in the long run by not having to waste time and money and effort and energy just making up for lost ground, right? Getting back to that break even.
Okay, cool. So you've written this, but now you've reaching out. So why a book to doctors in the medical community? I mean, aren't they known sometimes to be like impulsive investors and really hard to work with sometimes?
Oh, some of them are, but for the most part, I haven't found that to be true. In fact, within the medical community, the most common question I get is, are doctors bad investors? So I get it from the doctors themselves. And the truth is, most of them are highly intelligent. They're just incredibly busy. And they've gone through anywhere from 10 to 15 years of additional schooling just on the human body and the human mind, and all the different components and systems that make up this incredible body that we've been blessed with. And, so then they don't have a lot of the business experience that maybe somebody that went to business school went to. They don't have the money skills that some people, if they went into, some of these higher end finance courses during college or something like that. So I think to hold it against them is unfair, but I think getting them the right education and the right opportunity completely changes that. But yes, they do get taken advantage of because of their high income and the fact that they're busy. And that's what I'm trying to change through education and good programs, is that access to those good programs. So I find them to be great to work with. The main reason that I decided to write a book specifically focused on the medical community is, as I looked over last year, about 80% of the new money that I brought in came from doctors. And during that time, I asked several of them, why did you end up going this direction? But almost always these doctors would say to me, I wish I'd met you 20 years ago, or I wish there was better educational material for this stuff. And then I had a few of them say, man, you need to write a book just for us. And so I just took that to heart and I moved on it. And I think it will end up being great for them. And so I'm excited. It's just launching this week. And I think it's going to be a great move for any doctor that will take the time to go through the material.
Cool. So you have two main strategies really that you discuss in the book. So why do you think these strategies will resonate with the medical community or doctors specifically?
Okay. So as I mentioned a minute ago, I'll just elaborate. Once somebody becomes a client, I usually just throw out the question like, so why did you end up moving forward with me and this particular program? So when it comes to the first strategy, building a specifically designed cash value insurance contract, they say, man, I am heavily taxed as a physician. They pay some of the highest taxes in the country. And so if they can find out something that's similar to a Roth, and Tony Robbins calls these the rich man's Roth, if they can find something similar where there's no cap on how much they earn and there's no cap on how much they can place, then it gives them a place where they can put away a significant amount of money. And as you and I know, down the road, they're protected by the IRS themselves, that this money that they're not going to pay on the principal, they're not going to pay taxes on the growth. And when they inevitably pass, their family is going to receive all of that money tax-free. So you talk to someone who's heavily taxed and you show them a way to take a part of their future retirement and legally avoid taxes. That's a big one. That's a big one. The other one is just going back to them being very busy. Many physicians get caught off guard with market drops because they're in surgery or they're dealing with clients or they're too trusting of their advisor. And like I'll give you an example. I talked to a doctor down in Texas, and he said to me, when the market was dropping in 2007, 2008, I had to track my advisor down. And he goes, I didn't hear from this guy at all. And I said, well, let's say that things are falling apart. I'm guessing the first thing they did was they pulled a list of all of their clients, and then they organized it by who has the most money and who has the least. And which end of the list do you think they started calling on? The wealthier end, right?
Right.
So because the wealthier end probably makes up 80% of their pay, where the bottom 80% makes up 20% of their pay, right? The 80-20 rule. Yep. And so he goes, man, I didn't hear from them once. Meanwhile, I'm losing 10, 20, 30, 40, almost 56%. He told me he ended up losing. So where these are contractually protected by A-rated insurance companies that are then protected by a state, if something were to happen, that ends up being a significant source of peace of mind that, hey, all I have to be good at as a doctor is focusing on my career, making as much as I can and saving as much as I can. And then these top money managers are just going to go to work for me. And if something goes wrong, the company steps in and protects you. There's that insurance in place to make sure that they're protected. So those are probably the two big reasons. Of course, the fact that these have averaged a solid conservative rate of return consistently, that's another big deal. I mean, most people would love to 10x their money or get home runs every time. But if you can just get base hits every single year, you're going to come out ahead of the person that's just riding this crazy roller coaster. So I would say those are the main things when it comes to the first strategy in the book, and I'm sure that you've seen that with your own clientele.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, another cool thing is you got one of your doctor clients to actually write an introduction to your new book. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. He's such a great guy. I mean, I've really enjoyed working with him, and he's a smart guy, but very focused on his practice. His practice has been far and away his very best investment, and so that's where he's focused his time and energy. But then he had some advisors that didn't have his back, and it's not that he took big losses, but he sat stagnant for a really long time. And so we were able to move that over, get it into something that's not going to go backwards, because he's like, man, I still remember the sting of 2007 and 8. I don't ever want to feel that again, especially with us being, at the top of the market right now. Mm-hmm. I just don't know how much more this thing can keep going up, right? So he's like, I want to absolutely avoid another huge hit of time and money, but I also want to, park my money next to a flowing stream where I can, collect that money as many years in a row as I can. So it was really fun to set him and his wife and the kids and, just getting everybody set up in these plans. I think it's been really good. And having somebody that was willing to say that they like what you do and how beneficial it is, that right there, I mean, that's like one of the biggest compliments you can get in our industry. And then to put it in writing, I mean, I'm just so grateful that he was willing to do that. But yeah, he's one of my favorite people to work with, and he's been a good source of referrals and idea. He was one of the people that said, you really should create something just for doctors, because he's now a consultant for doctors, and he goes, man, they need your help. They need your help to get their finances in order. So anyway, he's been great to work with.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. So you kind of handled the first strategy there, which is on the life side. Now you got there's a second strategy you described in the book. So that's the annuity program. So now most people hear that word, they either run or they become closed-minded. So why do you think that is?
Oh, well, as you and I know, 20 years ago, annuities, when you died, the insurance company kept all your money. And I think that those myths are still out there. I don't know if the programs are still out there. I certainly don't do any, and I know you don't do any of those programs. But I think the main thing is most traditional annuities only earn 2 to 3%. So they're, right. They're outperforming the bank, mm-hmm. but they're just kind of barely keeping up with inflation. And I think where banks are so low right now, people are like, okay, I'm willing to trade risk for upside potential. And the thing I like about this is you don't have to leave the realm of safety in order to get the higher return. Mm-hmm. And so you end up getting both. It's a great package deal. And so this does these growth focused annuities, only a few companies have them, and they're uncapped, meaning you legitimately follow what the stock market does unless it goes negative. And then they put in what's called a floor, and you're protected. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that somebody put in $100,000 just to keep the numbers round, and the market goes up by 10%. They're credited 10%. Well, they go from 100,000 to 110,000. Then they do what's called an annual reset. It's one of the most powerful things that almost nobody knows about. It locks in. Now 110,000 is the new protected principal. and now you're earning and compounding on that number, right? And that just goes and goes and grows as the years go by. But let's say that a few years into this, that 100,000's grown to 165,000, and then all of a sudden the market drops by 20%, right? You're not going to see that huge drop. You're not going to have that wasted time. You're only ever 12 months away from taking advantage of a bad year, right? So if the market drops, you stay at 165,000, but the next year you start riding the gains back up. It's really, really powerful. But again, you have to, basically be invited to be a part of these higher end programs. And that's where in my book, I talk about some of the best money managers in the world are hired by these firms. And you and I, we can't afford to get access to these people. Tony Robbins said, if your advisor were really any good, you couldn't afford him or her.
Right.
And that's true. I couldn't afford these people. But what I have that I can give to these doctors and these nurses and these PAs and NPs is I can give them access to these programs. And that's what I like about it. So I want to give them the education. I want to give them the access. But then the other thing that people like about this program is little to no fees. And you and I both know whether it's good years or bad years, those 1%, 2%, 3%, annual management fees put significant drag on a portfolio's performance. We get to eliminate that while we eliminate the losses. And I know sometimes this sounds too good to be true, but this is stuff that I'll absolutely be able to show people. Everything's in writing. They will recognize the companies. And you and I both know that if a company publishes something, it's going to be reviewed by regulators. It's going to be reviewed by the state. These guys are highly regulated, and I love that. I want somebody watching the people that are holding my money or my clients' money. I don't want to be taken advantage of.
Cool. Well, man, I certainly appreciate all the research you've done to kind of seek out these exclusive programs and make them available to people. So any last words on anything else that you want to add to this before we can tell people how they can get a copy of your book?
Yeah, no, I would just say, that doctors need to be careful of distraction cost. And what I mean by that is some of them will start taking time and energy away from their practice and their family in order to try to become a really good investor. And some of them work out. I've talked to doctors that I'm like, hey, listen, what the system you got going is better than what I could give you. But for most of them, they just need somebody to handle it for them, right? But if they can focus on their medical career or their own medical practice, that's going to be the biggest return on investment. Nothing I do is going to ever outperform your own business or your own medical career. And so if they can become good at bringing in the money and then good at setting it aside, then I can be very good at showing them how to protect and grow that money. So that distraction cost ends up eating into people's time and money and energy. So go enjoy your family, focus on your medical career, and let a company that will contractually protect your money handle this, while at the same time putting your money in a position to take advantage of that. The other thing is, this doesn't happen every year, but these programs can do double digits. A few years ago, this program did 14.13. I mean, for a program that's protected against risk and market loss, that's a huge return.
Oh yeah.
Overall, it's going to average in the single digits, but that's just worth pointing out. So anyway, I'm excited for more doctors to read that if they'd like to work with me. I'm a no pressure guy. I'm all about education. I would love to walk people through and then let them make the decision. Is this right for you? Is this right for a portion of your money, or is none of it right? It really is up to the doctor.
Okay. So where did you say they could get a copy of their book, and where's a website they can get more information as well?
Yeah, so they can absolutely get it on Amazon.
Okay.
It's available there. If they have Prime shipping, my goodness, some people can get it within a day. But they can also get additional information by going to yourbridgeplan.com/doctor, or just remember yourbridgeplan.com.
Mhm.
And then anybody is certainly, welcome to reach out to me at Stephen with a PH, STEPHEN at yourbridgeplan.com. And I can run some numbers and show some examples of the different companies. And then again, it really is up to the person to make their own decision on how much or whether to be involved or not. But the doctors I have put into it are very happy. In fact, you'll remember 2 Christmases ago, going into Christmas, the market dropped by double digits.
Right.
I had a physician who owns multiple medical clinics. He's a multimillionaire, had just moved a decent chunk of money. And 2 weeks later, the market drops by double digits. He calls me and he's like, tell me the bad news. And I go, you didn't lose anything. We just have to wait for it to come back so you can have positive numbers. Well, now he's up at around 9%. So he's very happy that he didn't lose that. Yes, he didn't get the 11 because he was so close to that drop, but it did come back, and now he's in the net positive. So anyway, yeah, Amazon or yourbridgeplan.com would be a great place to get some additional information.
Fantastic. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time today. I feel so blessed that we got to share this information with people. So it's got to be of great interest to the medical community. And if you want to find out how to slash your taxes significantly on the income or plans that will be taxed, then you can check out my website at redwoodtaxsaves.com. Okay. And just remember that I'm here to help you save money on your taxes using strategies that you won't find on Main Street. Stephen, thanks again.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Have a great day.
See ya.